The Gonds are amongst the oldest continuous communities on Earth. About 5,000 years ago, the Gonds settled in the region called the Gondwana on the Deccan Plateau in India. It's a region they inhabit even today. Various communities of Gonds live in this vast stretch of land as they have throughout history. Modernity is creeping into their lives, but by and large the communities live and behave the way they have throughout millennia. For much of their history, the Gonds have lived in isolation from the mainstream. As a result, their intellectual traditions have remained untouched by outside influences. The way they see the world in terms of the stars, heroes, myths and legends are very different from the way we see it. For the Gonds, the concept of the gods, the universe, land, agriculture, the weather patterns and the stars are all interlinked. Everything in the universe is interconnected and a part of the whole.
आदिवासी समाज में एक है, उनके जूने पुराने लोग मौसम को देख के ये अंदाज लगाते हैं कि बरसात आ रही है, बरसात अच्छी रहेगी। उनके अंदाज हैं पुराने अंदाज में वो सब निकालते हैं।
For many years, modern man thought that the ancient people have no science, no method of timekeeping, no concept of history. Our interaction with the Gonds showed us how wrong our assumptions were. They have all this and more, but they represent this in different ways.
We often don't appreciate that astronomy is an integral part of all cultures and all civilizations right from earliest period. Ever since human beings took to farming, they needed to know the seasons, and therefore astronomy is a part of their life stories. The Gond astronomy is of particular interest to us because Gonds have remained isolated from the other cultural influences for several thousand years. So the astronomy they preserve is an independent astronomy that they have created, their constellations that they have created for their own timekeeping and for their own use.
To understand the nature of astronomy and the way the Gond people perceive the stars, we took them to a planetarium in Nagpur. At the planetarium, the Gonds told us their stories of the stars. Each story gave us a fascinating insight into the astronomy of the Gonds. The constellation known as Ursa Major, or the Great Bear in Western astronomy, is called the Saptarishi or the Seven Sages in Indian astronomy. For the Gonds, however, it's a different story.
जो कटोल हुंडी ठावा सोने था, हुंडी ठावा चांदी था, हुंडी ठावा।
One constellation of interest to us is the constellation that we call Saptarshi, the seven sages who point to the pole star. To us, it is a question mark shaped constellation with four stars that make a square and three stars that make the tail of that square, and there are supposed to be seven rishis and so on and so forth. It is part of a Great Bear constellation with the European system, which again points to the pole star and it is circumpolar to the pole star. But to the Gonds, it's a completely different story. The four main stars of the Saptarshi in fact make a cot on which an old lady lies, and the three stars at the back are the stars that consist of three crooks who are trying to steal this golden bed of the old lady. And if the old lady sleeps, then the thieves can steal the bed, and therefore the old lady is not allowed to steal. The inference is that by definition this constellation cannot set, because if it sets then the woman is asleep, the constellation is no longer seen, and the thieves have their day. It points to probably an astronomy that originated 3,000 years ago in 1000 BC, because that was the last time that the Saptarshi was circumpolar from where the Gonds live today. So it shows that the story was probably very ancient origin, dating back to at least 1000 BC, probably much earlier.
The constellation of Leo, or the lion, is a harbinger of tragedy.
Another constellation of interest to us is this beautiful constellation of Leo. To us, it looks like a lion, a very majestically seated lion. To Gonds, it is something completely opposite. It's extremely morbid and it represents death. The fourth star that we associate with the body of the lion is actually a dead body lying over there, and in that region they can not only see the dead body, but they can see the person who is leading the funeral ceremony. They can see people walk crying, they can see a crowd of people accompanying his dead body to its last resting place, and so on and so forth. And therefore this constellation is a constellation that represents what the ceremonies and procession of death to the gods.
The astronomy of the Gonds is geared towards sowing and reaping. Nowhere is this clearer than in the way they see the stars we know as Orion.
This beautiful region of Orion, Taurus, and Ursa Minor, which we consider three constellations. Go and see a whole series of constellations within this. The belt of Orion, as we will see, is a plowing machine instrument for them. There is a place where they collect the basket, where they collect the rice that is grown. There is a place where they keep the basket for sowing the seed. There is a bird sitting there which sort of tries to eat up the seeds. The eggs of the bird can be seen. The whole entire scene of farming with all its activity, from plowing, from watering the plants to collecting the harvest, as well as the birds that interfere with the harvesting, are all seen by them in this beautiful long constellation stretch. So what we call Taurus, the bull, the brightest star of the Taurus, the bull, is a star that is a bird with its two eggs there. It is sitting on the nest over there, which you can see in Taurus today. The Orion is where the farming occurs. The main belt of Orion is the plough, and the entire set of subsidiary stars all the way to Ursa Minor are the basket for harvesting and harvest collection, and for ploughing and so on and so forth. It is a magnificent, grand farming scene as far as they are concerned. It makes perfect sense to make it a farming scene, because that is the constellation they would have seen at the start of the farming season in the olden times.
In a modern world, what do we learn from studying the astronomy of the ancient people?
We are what we are because our ancestors were what they were. So in order to truly understand who we are, it is necessary to understand where we came from as much as where we are headed. These two make an integral part of our knowledge of ourselves. That is one reason why you study the growth of your subject. The second reason is that as the subject grows, there is a lot of material and information that is left in the ancient records, which is useful for us to understand. There are records of comet observations, supernova observations, and a whole bunch of observations which these people have made, which are of interest to us today because they are unique records in their own way, and therefore they give us a good idea about some subtle aspects of Earth's past, as much as they give us a lot of subtle information about why we are the way we are.